as part of the effort of making the MLS the source of truth in the largest marketplace for rentals, we want the MLSs and the members of the MLS to control their own destinies. So what we're hoping to do is, now that we have this massive new trustworthy data set on what's available in the rental marketplace, consumers are yearning for that too. They want to know reliably, okay, where do I go to figure out what's actually available and for what price? And man, if I can do that and get white glove service from lead to lease vis-a-vis the members of the MLS, how better is the experience than me, I don't know, scouring the internet hoping to get lucky or driving looking for rent signs?
Hey guys, welcome back to the Triangle Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Fagioli, with almost as always lately, our illustrious leader, Matt Fowler. And our special guest today is Ishay Grinberg with Rentalbeast, CEO of Rentalbeast, which is a partner that has been a Triangle partner now for almost a year. We were just discussing, and been a fantastic relationship so far. Can't wait to share it with you guys a little bit more. So hello, Matt, and hello, Ishay.
Hey, Matt.
Hello, Mr. Fagioli. Good to see you today, man.
Almost Christmas recording time. So we're all getting ready for the new year. But in this context, I guess by the time this goes live, we'll be celebrating a year of the partnership with Triangle and with Rentalbeast. And I know you guys both probably have lots to say about that and where we're going in the next year. But for a minute, if we could, Ishay, can you just tell all of our Triangle members a little bit about what a Rentalbeast is in case they don't know?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll take even a further step back just so folks know where I'm coming from beyond the Rentalbeast job. And that is, at the end of the day, I've been a realtor for 22 years. I've been in the trenches, closing transactions in two key markets, initially in New York, then in Boston. I've ran teams of about 75 in both of these big cities. And I've been an active investor for 2 decades, buying up residential rentals, managing them. I'm an active property manager. And for most of my life, I've rented my home, where my primary residence is. So I've been on, I'd like to think, most possible sides of this residential rental transaction. And going to your question, at the very high level, what Rentalbeast is throughout my career as a realtor, I've always viewed my job, and the job of really every real estate professional, is to, simply put, help people find a place to live. Turns out, lots of people live in rentals. When I say lots of people, in a market like the Triangle area, we can count at about 60% of the population living in rental occupied households. And because historically the MLS invested less effort, time in providing membership with tools and comprehensive data on the residential rental side, really real estate professionals were always struggling to service that 60% of the population. So what Rentalbeast is there to do is to make sure that when you are helping people find a place to live, you can help 100% of the population, no matter the market conditions. And we do that by injecting a tremendous amount of incremental data into the MLS, as well as purpose-built tools that are geared towards basically conducting a rental transaction.
Ishay, so that you have this background, this really deep background in the space. My background for the Triangle subscribers is really old, or as Ishay's, but mine's from the MLS software world, and I've created software like Paragon and Flex MLS and Matrix. I ended up selling that company to FBS, and I would go into these RFPs and it would say, to participate in the MLS space, you have to have a rental category. Understanding that 99.5% of the data is going to be living in residential. Rental is one of those boxes that we had to check because you didn't get the RFP if you didn't check the rental box and the commercial one. But the level of discussion, like we'd spend days talking about the residential category in like an hour. talking about the rental input form and the rental reports, and it's just not something that they really did. It was an also ran part of the MLS. And when I got to Triangle, you guys had already been talking to them for a little while about looking at the then Paragon rental experience. What does the input form actually capture? And then what can you actually search? And we did a query before our call today, and there are about 12% more rental listings in the Triangle system today for people who don't sign up for the Rentalbeast premium service. So without doing anything, there's more rental listings in the system than there were before. You can tell us how that happens. But if you don't pay anything extra to Rentalbeast, and you log into Rentalbeast and you look at how many active rentals are there right now in the Raleigh County, Wake County, there's like 3,800 when there were 500 in the old system. And you do have to pay to go into Rentalbeast Premium to see most of those, but they're there without paying anything extra. So people who are just regular members of the system know that there's 3,800, which were invisible to them before. So our mandate was to extend the accuracy and completeness of the data in the MLS system. So we have metrics that tell us that we did do that with the integration with Rentalbeast for people that paid nothing extra. And the big project that we launched on November 29th that we've been talking about all year long with my buddy here, Fagioli, was about choice. And we're allowing people to choose whether they want Matrix or Flex or Paragon. And now we're allowing people for a year to choose if they want to lean into rentals, and that's going to be part of their business practice. Then they can choose to upgrade the rental experience, which wasn't an option in the old Paragon system. If they really want to lean into that, they have all of the tools that come with Rentalbeast, that just weren't part of the MLS experience at all, and frankly never were going to be, because there wasn't enough demand and for that, the also ran rental category we're talking about. So let's maybe talk a little bit about why it's good for MLSs to use Rentalbeast for everybody, and then also what you can opt into if you want to in the rest of Rentalbeast's stack.
Yeah, from an MLS perspective, I've always viewed the MLS, from my perspective, it's the source of truth and the largest marketplace. We call ourselves insiders, organized real estate. That really is the way you organize real estate transaction. So whether you are the consumer, you're the seller's agents, the buyer's agents, anybody that's involved in the transaction can rely almost at 100% certainty that the information you're getting is comprehensive, it's complete, it's well structured, and you can transact on it and move from, hey, I want to buy a house, to now I'm living in that house, and I'm happy. From an MLS perspective, I think it's critical that the MLS fulfills that same mission on the residential rentals, because ultimately, I think a realtor or real estate professional's worst nightmare is that their consumer knows more than they do by doing something like a simple search on the internet. Imagine a world where I want to buy a house as a consumer, and I go on, I'm not going to name names, but let's say a website called Schmillo, all right? And by doing so, I have more information and I'm more empowered than my real estate agent to conduct a sales transaction. That can't happen, and by and large, that is nowhere near what's happening, because members of the MLS have significantly more data and more training, and they're truly professionals. On a rental transaction, it happens all the time. The consumer can go on one or two different online websites and get more information than what they traditionally get in the MLS. And that paradigm has to change for a variety of reasons. Reason number one, the market's dictating, it's changing. And I just apologize because I didn't memorize it, but I did take a screenshot of it. But, we're facing and market over years now where the country is suffering from a severe supply shortage on homes for sale. And that is not a problem that's getting solved in 2024. And the reason is we're missing like 4 million homes in the US. And there is a lot of things that were introduced into the market, like higher interest rates, that are creating a disincentive for more listings to come into the market. So if you have 60% of the population in this country, my mortgage is 2.8 or 2.85. So if I was in a need, if I wanted to get out, I need to really trade that 2.85 to a 6 or a 7. So that's making the decision to list my house for sale more difficult, right? And I'm not alone. At the same time, the demand, people really want to own a property. So the demand is outstripping the supply for a really prolonged period of time. So the average cost on a home for sale continues to increase, and that's impacting affordability. And now you're introducing higher interest rates that may be there for a longer period of time. That's pushing people, whether they'd like to or they don't like to, into a rental situation. I'll give you some real statistics. One is we generate thousands of consumer leads every single day for our premium subscribers. And we see about 40% of these so-called renters come to us as active buyers. So they're actively in the market. They want to buy a house. And for some reason or another, they can't complete the purchase. There's not enough inventory. They lost a bid. They got pre-approved for a mortgage a month ago. The rates have gone up so they can afford less home. Their kids start school on September 1st. So the clock ran out and they got to be somewhere by that date. Their school started, their job started. There's a million reasons of why folks are forced into rentals. But if I'm a real estate agent and I'm in the relationship business, I want to open the net and I want to capture all these prospective customers. So that allows you to do that. So I saw this in the Wall Street Journal, and that's a compilation of data from Freddie Mac, the US Census, Realtor.com, and a couple of other kind of what I would deem reliable resources. And they constantly track, and folks always have this question, should I buy or should I rent? And they constantly track what is more financially, what's cheaper. The average monthly lease payment now, and this is nationally, is just over $2,000. The average monthly new home payment, which includes your mortgage and PMI, is approaching $4,000, so-called $3,600. So, and I can share the graph. Maybe you'll post that in the edits. The line is separating in a bad way. So I think that ignoring rentals is something that realtors and MLSs do at their own risk, because it's essentially putting your head in the sand. Whether the MLSs or the realtors like it or not, folks live in these properties. And these are the folks that are buying homes or selling homes or investing in homes.
Yeah, we always describe, most realtors I know describe a renter as a future homeowner. And we talk about accessibility and affordability. Just it's our primary subject that we talk about at Triangle most of the time. Accuracy and completeness of the data is our primary function. And we just had a data conversion that I'll mention. We translated our data to RISO standards and launched the new data set November 29th. So, that doesn't mean that we are creating a national MLS, which is an accusation I got yesterday on a podcast. It means that we're normalizing our data to national standards so that we become more transparent and understandable to the consumers and more accessible to software developers who can maybe develop once and deploy everywhere. There's 522 RISO standardized cities now. And we've just published what's essentially the cleanest, most normalized data set, Dictionary 2.0, which is, just been released. And so we're, instead of becoming, very old looking data with lots of local terms, we've just converted it to the national standard, which caused all sorts of stuff to break. And, the last time we did a data conversion was 9 years ago in 2014. So they have a long period of just like extreme stability. And then we changed everything at the end of November. So we're 3 weeks out yesterday. Rentalbeast was part of that. So we're now loading listings entirely through Rentalbeast and not through the legacy MLS providers. That's like We have front end of choice, so you can pick Rentalbeast or Paragon or Flex to look at the rentals, but you can only enter rentals into the platform one way now, and that's through the Rentalbeast user experience. We don't think that's a bad thing, even though a lot of people have used the rental input form in Paragon for a long time, and they prefer that. The Rentalbeast ad listing experience is just comprehensively deeper. Let's talk a little bit, as Matt was saying earlier, our audience here is, our subscribers who don't spend all their time thinking about this. When you're looking at the Rentalbeast ad listing experience, talk about that for people that would see a rental listing that they're associated with, and how that works, and how listings come into the system without having to be keyed in.
Yeah, maybe I'll start there. There are two distinct ways through which you can bring rental listings using the Rentalbeast, what we call the edit feature of Rentalbeast. The very innovative and completely new way we allow folks to bring rental listings into an MLS system is what we call our claim listing feature. What does claim listings do? If you're a property manager, essentially every property manager with, say, more than 50 or 100 doors under management, you're likely already paying for what's called property management software. So companies that some of the membership may have heard of, like Yardi, RealPage, Entrata, Buildium, Appfolio, and there are dozens and dozens of others. We've integrated over the years with dozens of them. So instead of us going to these managers and saying, hey, if you want your listings represented in the MLS, as Matt said, you have to, up until now, you have to come in and key in individual listings and every single one of these listings attributes at a one-at-a-time click, which is very time-consuming. And then every time you've had a change to the status of that listing, you have to go back to the MLS to kind of update the status. By using this claim listing feature, you can run a search on Rentalbeast, identify your listings in our system, and by pressing a button and verifying that you are truly representing that listing in our system, we then create a sync, which works dynamically between your property management software and the MLS. So it takes away your need to double enter the data in the MLS system and the property management software system that you're already using. And it's proven to be a tremendous time saver and brought a tremendous amount of efficiency, especially for property managers that they're also members of the MLS. And that's partly why we're seeing listing count for MLS-owned listings, right? For the MLS listing, not the listing that Rentalbeast sourced outside of the MLS, go up. I had it out at somewhere around 40+% since launch on an average basis. But 12%, 40%, we've seen that consistently with every MLS we've launched. And the other thing we see in a lot of markets is maybe not day one, because change is always hard and takes a minute for folks to digest it. But we are seeing property managers coming in and becoming members of the MLS because, in large part, of that feature, because we've made their life a lot easier to bring the data in and maintain it. You don't have to update the status of the listing when it changes from active to application pending to rented. As long as your property management software says that, we will update the MLS for you. So that's one way to bring in listings to the MLS that's never existed before. The more traditional edit, where you do have the ability to come in and key punch the listing attributes, Matt talked about the RESO standard. There is no RESO standard on residential rentals, and it's so the Wild West, to the point where I've literally become the chairman of the rental work group for RESO to try and take a leading position in creating one, because it's necessary. You want to standardize the data. It's important for the MLS, the members, the vendors, and so on. So the form is significantly shorter than a traditional edit form you'll see on most MLS platforms, whether it's MLS, Paragon, FBS, or others. And the data fields we capture, as Matt said, go a lot deeper. And that's very important because that improves the search capability. And I'll give you some very real life example that every realtor in Triangle has experienced. If you've ever worked with the renter, it's not unusual for them to say, hey, I need to find a 2-bedroom that's available for a February 1st moving date that will take a 50-pound dog and have laundry in the unit and allow me to park my electric automobile and charge it. Do you have anything? If you don't capture the data fields through our edit, you'll never know whether you have it. Leaving aside the fact that the data may not have all the listings, but now we fix that too. You can't even run that search unless you capture these data points on the listing entry. So we capture those data points, we go real deep. It's shorter, it's easier, it's completely mobile optimized, and that's our edit.
Well, I think one of the things you said at the beginning, I want to key back in on a little bit, and that is that 60% of the market being rental now. I think we all had a sense that was a big number and a growing number. But I find that actually, eye-opening that it's that high in Raleigh or in the Triangle. But that statistic, in light of just what's happening in the organized real estate environment, the need to go deeper and deeper on relationships with customers, the reality that 60% of the market is at least presenting initially as a renter, probably because they can't, half of them can't find what they want to buy or whatever. If they can afford the crazy rents, they can probably afford to buy and maybe would. And so, I think it's almost a call to action for Triangle members next year to go deep here as a way to, out of necessity, to expand and go deeper into long-term relationships for next year. And you talked about lead generation, or the leads that you're generating for customers. I'd love for you to comment on some of that as well, Ishay.
So we have a lot of tools that help. There's two sides to each transaction. It's true on a resale, you have a buyer or seller, but it's also true on a rental. And I think for a lot of folks, what's lost on people is everybody understands, okay, renters turn into buyers. That's true. And we're working really, really hard. And there's going to be things we'll be introducing next year to get even better at identifying the propensity of the renter to become a buyer and to make all of these leads we generate become even more valuable for you and maintain the relationship that you've spent time on. So on lead generation, simply put, we have a very broad outgoing syndication. So there's a lot of rental-specific consumer websites that are highly trafficked, stuff like Zumper, Rent.com, stuff that's not really necessarily goes into the menu of the resale site that you would think of. So we've worked hard to have an outgoing syndication. You bring a listing into Rentalbeast, you get the option to maximize your exposure there. You can get your own consumer-facing rental website. You can post listings that, if you're a premium subscriber, you can post listings within the Rentalbeast system through one click to social media outlets like Facebook, like Craigslist, like Twitter, or now X, right? So you can proactively generate additional leads and generate additional business for you. But the thing I want to touch on, because I think it's super lucrative, is the other side of the rental transaction. You help somebody find a rental property. The person that owns that rental property is called an investor because they don't live in the property, they invested in it. I happen to be a small-time investor. Investors are a very big, active, and lucrative part of the market. Why? An investor doesn't buy, a traditional home buyer buy a house how often? Every 7, 8, 9, 10 years, something like that. Investors, I can go for a year while I'm buying 2 or 3 properties. Some do it even more often than that. So if you become the agent of record for an investor, you're benefiting from multiple sales commissions. A lot of these brokerage firms have property management divisions attached to their businesses. So that investor, if he's very active, might need property management services. So now you're getting the property management fees attached to managing the properties. If you can help that investor now find prospective tenants, now you're getting leasing commissions on top of that. And these investors are responsible for somewhere between 20 to 30% of all sales transactions in the different MLS systems. So it's not a small portion of all sales transactions. And guess what's the first step at working with an investor? That is knowing who is investing in my marketplace. And we, through our database, make it readily available because we collect the rentals. Rentals are owned by investors. If you know who's the owner of the rental, you know who these investors are. And we supplement that with a world of education for our university. We supplement that with data analytical tools and presentation tools to help you really engage a piece of the market that a lot of agents haven't thought of in a more meaningful way. So when you think about 24, and you know the famous line from Wayne Gretzky, what made him different? He was skating to where the puck was going, not to where the puck is. So this is where the puck is going. You're going to see more investment activity. That's what happens, especially when we go into a slowdown in the marketplace. Investors get more active, not less active. You're going to see more people rent because of the affordability issues that are continue to linger. And that's where the puck is going. So I think, I'm no Wayne Gretzky, but I think that's the opportunity that we want to put in front of the members of the MLS.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, Ishay, this has been very informative, and I hope that the members that are listening to this are rethinking or adding deeply to their thinking for next year around rentals. Matt, do you have closing comments here?
Yeah, I'd like to say two things on our way out. The first one is right after this airs, the Stakeholder Advisory Council at Triangle is meeting with property managers from each of the 5 associations that are part of the Triangle Regional, and we're collecting wish list items from them that we can talk about with Rentalbeast. We have a year left in our existing relationship. We certainly exceed that extending. We have a lot of success metrics that we're pointing to, but as we go into the second year, we understand that there certainly are Triangle subscribers who want this to work differently, and our job is to listen to them and see what we can do with Ishay and his team. I've known a lot of those guys, Joel, and those guys for a really long time. So we're going to be working on that together. And Ishay's group is really good at working with Alan and Sam on my team and everybody really. And the other thing, I don't think that our subscribers know what's happening out in the rest of the country with MLSs and how they're using these new rental tools. There's only a couple of companies really in this space helping MLSs kind of integrate with the rental market, and they both do them extraordinarily differently. They're apples and, I don't know,
Subarus.
Yeah, there you go. Something, they're not the same, right? And the other one specifically doesn't have this integration component that lets us increase the completeness of the rental listings that were like the strategic objective that we were trying to accomplish here. But you guys, like Triangle wasn't your first market. What's your biggest market? What's your most recent market where you've released Rentalbeast? And do you have a reference account, a success story that's doing things differently than we are? One example I might toss to you that you can maybe talk about is Richard Gibbons down in Southwest. Richard's a good friend of mine, and I know that they're launching a new rental consumer portal that's going to be their brand that talks to the marketplace in their city about rentals, and it's strictly just rentals, and it's a product that Rentalbeast provides. So, like, where else are you? What are people doing with Rentalbeast that we're not doing? Tell us about your other success stories.
Yes, thanks for that opportunity. So we're up to about 800,000, a little more than 800,000 members of MLSs on platform. So that's kind of size. As far as where we are, we're in 26 major markets around the U.S. The best way to think about that, instead of me enlisting them, is big NFL markets is what we focused on first, because that's where the need is most dire. The largest market is probably a deal and partnership we launched with the California Association of Realtors. About 220,000 members. We've launched a statewide rental listing service with them. Most recent market we've launched was at the end of October. It was a big one for us with the Toronto Board of Realtors. So even because that's 75 or 80,000 agents in a completely different country. And we're very proud of that.
Yeah, wow, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Toronto is one of our success models that we track.
Okay.
We talk a lot to those guys about how they manage choice because they have a choice environment. You can use Stratus or Matrix.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It is a big one. It's big in geography, and they're growing and expanding as you are, and it's big in number of members count, and they're one where they had a decent amount of rentals going in. I mean, they were having 15,000 active rentals in the system before, and we're already are able to grow that in and outside of the MLS. So that's the most recent one. As far as success, Richard is a great example of somebody that an MLS that's really leaned in. They've done what Triangle did as far as adopting Rentalbeast as the sole edit tool. And they're seeing, I don't have the metrics in front of me, but significant MLS listing count growth, somewhere around 80%. So in that particular MLS, they've been under 100 active rentals since the beginning of time. We go live 6 months ago, and I think we're somewhere in 200 to 300. So off a small base, but the very material growth. We also have become their only rental search. And like you said, the consumer website, we're very excited about because as part of the effort of making the MLS the source of truth in the largest marketplace for rentals, we want the MLSs and the members of the MLS to control their own destiny. So what we're hoping to do is now that we have this massive, new, trustworthy data set on what's available in the rental marketplace, consumers are yearning for that too. They want to know reliably, okay, where do I go to figure out what's actually available and for what price? And man, if I can do that and get white glove service from lead to lease vis-a-vis the members of the MLS, how better is the experience than me, scouring the internet, hoping to get lucky or driving, looking for rent signs. So that's the goal behind the site.
Yeah.
I'm very jazzed about that.
Yeah, me too. We're launching a new consumer portal early next year. And it'll have rentals on it. But again, it's the huge website and rentals. So right. I like the idea of separating that audience. I think the target audience, the persona that you're talking to with that site's quite different than somebody shopping for a house to buy. Just like commercial, it's just a different style, it's a different audience, a different set of information. We're talking about it. And for everybody watching, we're also talking about, the open issues that we have. So if you're interested in rentals and you're interested in, helping steer the boat on how we're going to do rentals strategically in the future, we'd encourage you to reach out to your representative on the strategic Stakeholder Advisory Council. It's all on the website, and get them to bring your concerns and your thoughts into that group, because that's who we're using. It's the most representative group, and so that's who we're using to help us make this relationship even better. Yeah,
and we love feedback, especially if somebody has any experience than less than optimal. We're not looking for people to tell us how awesome we are all day. That's hard to learn from. It's like, oh yeah, I wish this did that, or you did it faster or better or different. We want that. Yeah. So really,
yeah, for sure. I like the questions I don't know the answer to, because then I've learned something. So yeah, I definitely look at it that way. Ishay, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being the host again, Mr. Fagioli.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for listening in to the Triangle Real Estate Podcast, and we'll see you guys back here real soon. See you, Ishay.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you guys.